the glaring issues that I think we have with a lot of our regulatory government agencies is effective follow-up. We see it failing all the time with our child welfare system, where we recognize that there's a problem here at this house. This child might be being abused, but, put the needles away and everything's all good. And then suddenly the kid's missing and they can't track anybody down. And it's like, well, they're missing. Let's put the poster up. And that's kind of where it ends. When you have the funeral home that stacks nearly 200 bodies up along their walls, and a couple of years earlier, one of the regulatory agencies came in and raised a couple red flags and never really followed up. Eventually, it gets really, really bad. That's what we have here with, you guessed it, Return to Nature Funeral Home. It's not a bad...
Now, I'm going to step in for just a second.
Yeah.
This was when they investigated them, COVID started.
Okay.
And we didn't know how to deal with COVID. So I'm going to give them just a hair of grace on this one.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but some.
Just a little bit of grace as, I can understand that a little bit. Return to Nature Funeral Home finding itself at the center of more controversy after the revelation that of concerns raised by the Fremont County Coroner about the facility's conditions in 2020 went unanswered. The development sheds light on the alleged improper practices of the funeral home, leading to legal ramifications for its co-owners. Arrest documents unveiled shocking details indicating the co-owners Jon and Carie Hallford are accused of improperly storing 190 bodies inside the funeral home. Investigators uncovered distressing scenes with some bodies left to decay for years and others found without proper covering. The ordeal began when subcontractors on behalf of the Fremont County Coroner's Office entered the funeral home premises in Penrose and reported alarming conditions to Coroner Randy Keller. This is back in May of 2020. Disturbed by what they had witnessed, employees raised concerns about bodies being stored on the floor instead of on proper tables or cots, along with issues regarding refrigeration. I don't know. I mean, you're getting reports of this. I know COVID is going on, but does that mean, let's just stop anything that... I don't know. We all shut down for a while.
While we're dealing with the pandemic...
Yeah.
You also should be concerned with bodies becoming biohazards. The whole world was a biohazard at that point. So there's one situation they could have mitigated.
Yeah. I mean, the thought process back then and the scare process at that moment was, oh my God, all these places are going to be overwhelmed with bodies. And in reality, a lot of them weren't. But this just seemed to be far more of we want to go spend our money on luxury goods than, burning the bodies and cremating them as we're supposed to. Coroner Keller, in response to the distressing findings, took proactive measures by alerting the Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies, DORA, by the way, the Explorer, for via email about the concerns. However, the coroner's office expressed frustration as they received no response from DORA, leaving them uncertain about the appropriate course of action. This is bureaucracy at its finest. Well, I sent the email. Nobody did anything. It's not my fault. Spokesperson.
But, even in Google Mail, it sends you a notice 4 days later. Would you like to follow up?
Mm-hmm. A spokesperson for Dora the Explorer confirmed the receipt of Coroner Keller's email, clarifying that the agency lacked the authority to inspect funeral homes until 2022, following the passage of legislation granting inspection powers. Now, shouldn't the coroner know this little fact about how the system works? So why are you even sending them anything if they can't go and do anything?
That's a really good question.
I mean, this is just basic. I mean, it's government shit where you got the job for the rest of your life if you'd like to. Just show up, basically. You don't have to know how the system works. This just seems like basic shit, though, of understanding the power and who has the power to do what and who doesn't. I guess, I don't work in that world, so maybe it's far more confusing than we think it is. But it doesn't seem like it's all that much of rocket science to determine whether or not the agency you're saying, please go investigate this, has the power to go and investigate that. The lack of communication left unanswered questions about how to address the reported violations. When contacted for further details, Coroner Keller cited a gag order preventing him from commenting on the case, understanding the complexities surrounding the investigation. Meanwhile, the EPA has announced plans for the demolition of the funeral home by the last week of February, signaling an end to the facility's troubled history. As the legal proceedings unfold, co-owners Jon and Carie Hallford are scheduled to appear in court for a separate arraignment hearings on March 21st. Fourth Judicial District Attorney Michael Allen anticipates pleas of not guilty for the accused, who face a staggering 260 felony accounts. How do you plead? How do you plead not guilty to this?
That's a really good question. I would think they would get further with a guilty plea.
How about just a plea deal? I mean, I'm going to imagine this will probably end up with a plea deal because it's just so staggering. And look, you own the funeral home. There's nearly 200 bodies stacked up in there. We have you on video taking the bodies in there. Look, you did it. There's no question you guys did this. Now, why you did this and how you did this, that really doesn't fucking make a difference. But you did this. So you should probably be held accountable.
Ugh. This whole situation is just so gross.
The plans to convert the Return to Nature funeral home into an Olive Garden have been put on hold.
No. Please tell me they're not doing that.
Wouldn't that be great? Like, oh, look, Return to Nature's an Olive Garden now.
Oh, they literally returned to nature.
I was at an Olive Garden recently, and I was quite disturbed. And now they're not all like this, but there was like so much dust on all of the fake flowers and shit that they have on there. It was like literally like falling into the food and stuff. And I asked the man, I said to the man, I'm like, manager, I'm like, hey, not to be all kitchen nightmares on you here, but do you guys ever like clean?
Well, wouldn't you think a health inspector coming in to do hopefully routine inspections, but here we are talking about government regulation,
I know.
Agencies.
Well, and in most health inspectors in most areas, there's like one for like 5,000 restaurants or like a crazy square footage or square mile distance. Like I cover 200 miles and like there's all these restaurants and you have so many shady ones left and right. It's not adequately funded or staffed. And the manager's like, well, we clean every single day. I said, come here. And I showed him. And I kind of did the Gordon Ramsay, like, really? You do this every day? Because this just fell on our food. Oh, my gosh.
Good for you.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not mad, but like, you got to do something here, dude. Like, this is like, clearly you don't, or your cleaning crew doesn't, and nobody seems to inspect it. So.
Well, and you know what dust is, right?
We have body parts or skin cells and shit falling on our food. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's mites. There's all kinds of stuff in dust. You don't want to look at that under a microscope. No. But, seeing as I saw it recently at the Olive Garden, I could see Return to Nature being a very possible, prosperous Olive Garden.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free.
So you can binge on True Crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.